Alright guys, welcome back. It's another video on the $500 jet ski. Since the last video, I did get the PTO adapter off us. I used a 36-inch pipe wrench. I strapped the block of this like an idiot to my little Ford truck that I drive to work, my Ranger. I don't really care about it. It's a beater with a heater. I had my whole body weight up on there like this. Wouldn't move. Finally, I used a set of torches and heated the end up. I was worried we're going to index this crank anyway. Hopefully I didn't do no damage to the crank, but holy shit, I've never fought an adapter like that in my life. I just got it off, so if you're ever doing one of these and you got to get that off, I wish you luck. So with that being said, we got to get the flywheel off this. We got to get the starter motor off. We got to index this crank and see what we got from there so we can get some parts ordered. What I meant to say about being an idiot about using my truck is I actually winded up bending the tailgate down like this. So whatever, I straightened it out. I paid 600 bucks for the truck. I don't care about it, but if you're doing this, strap it to a workbench. Obviously I don't have a workbench anymore in the garage. This is a tool cabinet, so I was kind of screwed. I didn't think it would be that much force because SBT says use a 14-inch pipe wrench. Well, I can tell you that ain't gonna do squat. So anyway, let's roll the video. Let's get it going. These are 12mm bolts. Before I figure out how to pull that cover, let's get this starter off. These are 10 mils. They're loose, of course, like everything else on this project. Work your starter out of there. I believe there's a seal on there, an O-ring, which there is, so you're gonna have to work it out. Just like that. It's your starter. See that O-ring? That's why you gotta fight with it. That's out. Now let me do a little reading. I know they probably got 1211 sealer on here, so to break the bond might be a pain, but I'll let you guys know how I do it in a minute. Alright guys, we're going to tap this cover off. It's got a gasket on there. Oh, Mr. SRX, you're an idiot. You forgot one. Let me get an extension. Sorry guys, I've had a long day, but I wanted to sneak out here and get a little work in. There we go. Alright guys, there's another bolt in here I didn't see hiding. My mistake. Now we'll see if we can get this flywheel cover off. Let me make sure. It's hot guys. I need AC in the garage. Fortunately don't have that, so I didn't bang on this cover too hard. There we go, just like downtown guys. Let's get this cover off and we'll start getting this flywheel off. So give me a minute, let me get the workbench organized and I'll show you guys how we're going to get it off. It's going to be a 22mm. We're going to use the big Milwaukee impact, hopefully spin it right off the nut off this flywheel. We're gonna have to rope the front cylinder, so I'm gonna put the head back on the front cylinder. I thought maybe the impact would break it, but it won't, so let me put some rope down the cylinder. Alright guys, I got lucky. I didn't have to do the rope in the cylinder trick. I turned up the power on the impact and she spun it right off like I figured it would. Got a nut, washer. Now you're gonna use a puller. You're gonna have to thread it in there. I do have a slide hammer. I'm not sure if I'm going to use that or I'm going to use a puller. I guess we'll try the puller first. So let me get the puller set up and I'll show you how if we can get this off easily or not. We'll see. Guys, unfortunately my puller I have is stripped out. It's old, it's beat. I'm going to go buy a new one tomorrow. I got to fix my regulator on my compressor anyway, long story. Didn't do a video on it, don't care about it. It's got me aggravated. But I'll let you guys know what size these bolts are I'm going to use on this flywheel. These aren't long enough either and that's all I have. So I'm going to take one of these to the hardware store tomorrow and get some longer ones. You got to be careful not to thread them too far in. You'll screw that stator up. That's all over the SBT and all over the forums. So alright guys, I'll roll the video tomorrow when we get the proper equipment. In a couple days, I got my new puller. I wound up just getting one off Amazon. I was going to go to Harbor Freight. Here it is. I believe the bolts you're going to need to pull the flywheel are M8 1.25 pitch. So let me get the puller set up on here. And I'll get the camera back rolling as soon as we do that. One thing I want to mention is I got that head back on, bolted down. You're going to get your Polaris brand polar rope. I'm kidding. Just get a rope, feed it down in the cylinder. When you're doing this, I don't know if I mentioned in my other videos, SBT says put a rag in the middle cylinder. Don't do that. If you're gonna do it, put it in the cylinder closest to whatever you're working on, whether it be the flywheel or it be the PTO coupler. You want the rope on the side you're working on closest to, so you don't knock your crank out of phase or chance knocking it out of phase. Now that I got that nice and tight, just like that, I'll get the puller on. I don't really want to use an impact on here. I guess you could. There's different things out there. I don't know. You know, if it's a pressed together crank, you could knock it apart. Not apart, but you could knock it out of phase. Obviously, if we have to use an impact, we'll use an impact. I don't think it would hurt this one, but let's see if we can get it done without using an impact. We'll see how hard this flywheel's on here. If it's anything like the PTO coupler, well, then it's going to take me 2 days to get it off. So let's see. As I mentioned before in the video, don't thread these bolts too far in. They'll hit your stator. You'll destroy your stator. I did have to use a stud out of one of the jugs since my puller only came with 2 bolts that were long enough and I didn't feel like going to the hardware store. I'm trying to get this done after work. So let's see. Probably gonna wind up having to use an impact on this. It's a 14 mil on my wrench there. So let's see. I know probably some people would say not to do this, but we're gonna do it. There you go, guys. There it is. Popped right off. Then you have your stator in there. And what I'll do is when you pull your stator out, you gotta look for where your timing is. That stator moves to adjust your timing. And it's very important, you got a keyway in here also that holds that flywheel on. You got to pay close attention to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the stator off. It looks like it's turned all the way, that would be to the left. If you can see these bolts. And what I like to do to get these Phillips heads loose, let me cut the camera off and I'll show you how I do it, so you don't wind up screwing them up. What I'll do is I'll get a nice tight fitting Phillips head to those screws and I'll take and hit the end several times on all the screws. And the theory is that the vibration will loosen up the screws for you. Careful you don't hit your stator. I've done this on multiple things many a times. It's worked really good. Also, a cordless 1/4 inch impact will help too. So there you go, guys. It loosened right up for me. No stripping, no nothing. That's what you want when you're doing something like this. You can't risk tearing these up. You'll have hell getting them out of here. There you go. Now your stator's loose. I'll remove this stator. I gotta go get some more plastic bags. And I'll cut the camera back on when we get the pickup off and we get the stator cover off, or the flywheel housing cover off. It looks like the pickup is going to stay attached to the stator. You are going to have to work your Bendix out of here. Pull that out. Now when I put this back together, guys, and I show you the rebuild videos, I'll show you how to time it all out and everything like that. We'll go over everything. Make sure you got to watch stuff like this on your Bendix here. You got washers and stuff. You got to make sure that stuff goes back in the correct spot or you will not be happy. Now you got 2 more Phillips right here for your stator wire. I'll pull those out. Let's pull the stator off. Let's get that housing off, and then we're going to wrap up this video. And I'm going to do another video on indexing the crank. To get your stator wires out of this, there's a rubber grommet in here on the back side where the wires come through the block. I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute right here. Be very careful. Just push that rubber through with the flathead. It'll come right through for you. And now you're going to have to work all the wires through the housing. Or I should say, actually, that goes through the casting of the block, I believe. So we'll work all those out of there off camera. You can see, enjoying myself a brewski after work, buddy. I need one. So you're going to Gently, whatever you do when you're working with these wires, don't be tugging on them and all that crap. You'll wind up causing yourself a real pain in the ass. Now it looks like I gotta pop the rubber out of this plastic that goes on the fuse box. See the plastic here? It looks like this rubber pops out of here. I'll have to work it out of there so it'll fit through the block. Let me work it out. You can see right here. I'll show you what it looks like when I get it out. I've never taken one out, so I want to be gentle with it. Give me a few minutes. I was able to work the wire right here. Bring this camera nice and close for you guys. I was able to work it from the front side down. Once you do that, this collar will pop off. That's your collar, it goes on the fuse box. Now you got your heat sensor separated now. And this rubber should slide through here, which it might not. So I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna go about this. I need to figure that out. So give me a few minutes and let me see how I'm gonna get it through. I think it might slide through there. I was able to work the rubber through the block pretty easy. Now you'll see as I pull it out. Like I said, be gentle. Couple wires at a time through the hole. You don't want to be tugging on everything. And there you have it, guys. The stator's off. Be gentle with it. You can see the screw marks on these. So when we put it back together, I'm sure the timing will be somewhere in that area. Don't worry, we'll get it all figured out. We're going to get these wires all cleaned up. Somebody's got a real half-ass mess here. Now let's get this housing off and in this video. These are going to be 12 millimeters again. And it looks like on the outside you're going to have a 10 mil. That's all I see so far, so let me pull them out. Cordless impact again, guys. My 3/8 works awesome for this. When I'm doing something like this, I always pay attention to the bolt length. These all look the same. If they're not, you want to make sure you remember, mark it, take a picture, something in your head, so when you're putting this back together, you know where they go. Let me get this 10 millimeter off and we'll pull that front housing or that rear housing off. Here we go, just a gentle tap. The rubber mallet, don't be swinging on this thing. It's just aluminum. And there we go, we have that off. So I'm gonna wrap it up for this video. In the next video, guys, I'm gonna index the crank. We're gonna get the motor mount housing off here, take the bolts off the bottom. So we're gonna do one separate video for indexing the crank. Then we're going to do another video pulling the jugs, pulling the crank out, and then we're going to start a rebuild video once I get some parts ordered, and I also have to get the rest of the pump off the jet ski. So once again, guys, thanks for watching. Please bear with me. I got a water pump to do on my 99 Ranger. I'm going to shoot a little video on that. But yeah, we'll be getting this back together and we'll be getting it running. So please subscribe.